Could you just read a little slower, please?
Yeah. Linked to current ongoing demonstrations downtown Ottawa. The RCMP Protective Operation Assessment Unit advised that there is no particular concern at this time for the diplomatic community. Some foreign missions have requested that the RCMP conduct security assessments. However, no specific concerns have been identified. Several missions have informally raised issues and inconveniences with the Chief of Protocol that have been affecting their operations related to limited access to buildings, block streets, noise impeding their work, and the odor of diesel fumes. The Office of Protocol, in brackets, Diplomatic Security Liaison Unit, close brackets, remains in contact with the RCMP and will advise of any significant concerns affecting the diplomatic mission. And can you agree that as of February 4th, that was the assessment also of your office?
I'd have to see our assessment, but if he's saying that the RCMP said that.
Right, and I take it that though this is February 4th, this situation as described here remained the same throughout the whole protest, did it not?
I can't speak for sure. I don't have any of the documents.
Okay, and yesterday the Assistant Deputy Minister, she couldn't give us any other information other than a blanket statement with no evidence or information. So is it fair to say that if there was actual evidence or information?
Excuse me, I don't think that that's a fair description of the evidence that was provided by the witnesses.
All right,
yesterday.
I'll rephrase it. So would you say then that you would have no more further information with respect to specifics than the Assistant Deputy Minister did yesterday?
I don't know what the Assistant Deputy Minister said yesterday, but what I can say is I would have to look at the RCMP threat assessment documents or any of the requests to know what the threat environment was throughout the convoy, just to be fair.
Okay. Now, Commissioner Lucki, I'm going to ask some pointed questions on the next following set. Now, Commissioner Lucki, can you agree that under the RCMP Act, it doesn't provide sufficient independence from political, executive, and political interference from your office? Is that fair?
Well, I assume it does, but others don't.
Right. And you know that from your appointment as commissioner under Section 5 of the RCMP Act, that appointment is what's referred to at pleasure. You understand that?
Yes.
And you understand that that means that the governing council, on a recommendation from the political executive, the prime minister, cabinet, can remove you at any time at will without reason, right? And this is different than what's referred to as an appointment of good behavior. You understand what that is?
Yes, not intimately, but.
And an appointment of good behavior, you at least understand, requires actual grounds of misconduct to remove you, kind of like a judge, right? You get that?
Yes.
Right. And for example, I take it you're aware of the former SNC Lavalin, Jody Wilson-Raybould scandal with respect to the Director of Public Prosecution Services of Canada. That Public Prosecution Services Director, you're aware that they're appointed at good behavior. They're not subject to being removed at will. You're aware of that?
No.
Okay. And you understand, I understand you have an understanding of the SNC Lavalin, Jody Wilson-Raybould scandal, though, do you not?
Yes.
Right. And the issue with that is that the political executive trying to use Ms. Raybould-Wilson essentially tried to skirt the act with respect to advising prosecution services on how to conduct themselves. Is that fair?
Yes, I guess.
Okay.
I'm not intimately familiar with.
Right. And the problem with that is that act, you know that any direction from the political executive via the Minister of Justice, the Attorney General, that seeks to compel the Director of Public Prosecution Services to do something, it has to be through the legislative process, and then whatever they direct them has to be published in a gazette within 6 months. Are you aware of that?
No.
All right. And you agree that your Office of Commissioner has no such safeguards, does it?
No.
And you know that the common law in policing is that you as commissioner and other chiefs of police throughout the country and the common law world really are to be 100% independent from the political executive.
Yes.
And you agree with me that the political executive...
I would say, though, we do get direction on the administration side of the policing, but not the operational side.
Right. And you can agree with me that the political executive should not be placing undue pressure on you or directing you what to do with respect to policing other than the administration part. as
Yes.
you mentioned. Right. And it's not true, it's true, and I'm not trying to poke, but it's public knowledge that previously the political executive has asked you to do certain things in investigations, such as release information that could undermine an investigation. You remember that?
You'll have to be more specific of what you're referring to.
You agree that happened when you were asked by federal ministers to release the form of firearms the RCMP in Nova Scotia knew were used in the mass shooting while the investigation was ongoing? Remember?
But what are you referring to specifically?
I'm referring to the issue with respect to releasing the forms of firearms for the purpose of furthering the legislation.
There was no pressure to do that.
Right. But the minister asked you to do it.
No, the minister asked me if in fact the information about the firearms would be part of a media release.
Right. And when
He didn't ask me to put that in there.
Right. And when it wasn't, there's the transcript and the recording with respect to that, that you had said to some of your colleagues, why couldn't this have been done? The minister asked for a small ask, why wasn't it done?
That's not the context in which that was taken.
Okay. Now, I take it that, would you agree that the executive branch of the federal government, both yourself and you, Deputy Commissioner, they tried to tell you what action to take during the protest, didn't they?
Sorry, they asked us to what?
They tried to tell you what actions to take in policing during the protest. Did they not?
Absolutely not.
Did they not ask you? They wanted you to take it over.
No,
Right. So the clerk of the Privy Council and you, Assistant Commissioner, did not have a phone call on February 3rd, 2022, recorded in your notes, where they said that we need to take this over.
Yeah, but saying it and doing it is two different things.
Right. Can I take you, can we please bring up document pb.nsc.can.00008001. Okay. Now, this is a copy of your notes, sir. There's two copies of your notes. The one that my friends have been referring to in your summary statement, just so you're aware, that's document 8073. This is the other set, or that was document 8074. There's another set, and there's some highlighting that you've made in these notes, and I'm going to take you to it. Beginning first, we'll go right to the February 3rd note. Which is on, my apologies. I believe it's 19. If we can go to page 19, please. All right, so we'll begin at the top that says February 3rd. That's the note for the day. If we can scroll down. Just a second here. Just keep going. No. I could just have a moment.
Sure.
And so just for your understanding, this was the record we found that was deposited over the weekend. That's why I'm having a little trouble navigating it. Okay, great. There's actually a second one. It's on page 19, I believe. That's the MINS call. Well, we'll start with this one. And this is the minister's call at, you can scroll up. Right, so 12:30. And that's the minister's call. And I take it that the Minister of Public Safety and the Minister of Emergency Preparedness is on that call with you?
I would have to check the minutes, but I just have minister's call. Normally it would be Minister Menachino, sometimes Algabra, and I see Blair a little further down. That's correct.
Right, so, and there it states, question, Mendocino's observations and non-policing response, seeing way more, or seeing way, can you tell me what that says? It's
Saying way more traffic, can't make out the last word. Saying way more traffic.
And does not seem to be a plan, must start with enforcement. So
Yeah.
it tells you that,
Yeah.
right? And then Bill Blair, of course, that's the Minister of Emergency Preparedness. He's the former Chief of Police of Toronto, is that correct?
That's correct.
And he says the PM is increasingly concerned about how the city will deal with this. Is that right?
According to my notes, correct?
Right. And so you agree that, you know, as a police officer, you're trained to take notes, right?
Yeah.
And you take notes of conversations and investigations contemporaneously to the investigation?
Correct.
And you write down relevant material matters that you want to remember later in time, right?
Key points that I want to remember or brief up.
Right. So it's fair to say that these things that you wrote down, this is what was said to you by those two ministers, correct?
Yeah.
Okay. And if we can scroll down to the next page, please. And this was already put in the other set of notes, but there I see that Minister Mendocino, he says to you that his colleagues feel unsafe going to the Hill. They feel, is that harassed, or
Yeah.
what does that say?
Feel harassed. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shorthand written.
yeah. And then what is it, the second?
Concern of Ottawa, central citizens, essential care,
Counter protests.
counter protests.
Right, okay. So if we can keep scrolling down, actually, I think I've understand why I had it wrong, the date I had with respect to when you had the meeting with the clerk of the Privy Council is actually the 9th. So I'm going to take you down to February 9th. Let me just find that there. And that's 41, page 41. Or, yeah, so at the top there, you see that's the date, the 9th, and it says call with clerk, 800. And that's the clerk of the Privy Council, is that correct?
I would assume so.
Right. And you were there flushing out financials, financial compensation, employees' business, and PS, are you referring there as Peter Slawley or public safety?
Let me just read it here. I'm not quite sure if that was public safety or Peter Slowly.
Well, it
I'm
says,
guessing if it was the clerk, it's because it's public safety.
right, so feels organized. What's that word right after the period? In organized?
Ambassador Bridge.
Ambassador Bridge. Want to just read it out for me?
Feel organized, Ambassador Bridge, stretched OPP, incremental success, OPS, working at incremental, very small things. Chief, 48, 76 hours to gather the troops.
Right, so at the time, at least on February 9th, I take it that you thought the OPS was doing an okay job. Is that fair?
Remind me of that date?
That's February 9th.
Not necessarily saying that they were doing a good job.
Right, but they were making incremental.
Well, that's what we've been shared,
Right,
but still it was difficult to understand what those incremental gains were very small things that were done.
And the clerk responded to you that we need to take this over. Do they know what this means?
No, and I'm not quite sure. There's probably other people on the line. I just said the clerk said we need to take this over. I'm not necessarily speaking to me. Rarely do I brief the clerk alone. We need to take this over. Do they know what this means? And again, I think there's a lack of understanding of how it works when you're looking at jurisdiction when a comment like that is made, just like when minutes.
Right. But the clerk of the Privy Council is the highest ranking civil servant in the entire federal apparatus, right? They're
Correct.
the equivalent in provinces as what's called the DM, the deputy minister. She answers to the prime minister and the prime minister alone, right?
My understanding.
And so on February 9th, she's telling you that the federal government and yourselves, the RCMP, have to take over.
Correct.
Okay. And then we'll scroll back up to the top, if I can. I'm just going to go through this in order. If we could go to page 11. So if you can scroll down there. And this is another briefing to the ministers. Is that right?
I see minister's brief, 1,300 hours, 3 points. Yeah.
Is that not what you're informing them, a police operational plan?
They are being briefed on discussions that we've been having with OPS or that OPS would share with us. So one of the concerns the commissioner said earlier, how is this going to end? When it's going to end was asked frequently. For anything we had on the planning side, we'd brief up to the ministers to inform them that there is something that we don't always have access to, but there's discussions that there's plans ongoing.
Right. And is it not fair to say that throughout this protest, that the political executive and the executive branch of the federal government were asking you for operational plans and even asking you to give the operational plans of the OPS to them?
So I will defer to the commissioner on this one, but my dealings with the deputy ministers and the ministers, never once did they ask for the operational plan.
Okay.
We kept them updated on the work that's being done. Commissioner, not quite sure if there's anything to add.
We were never asked to give any operational plans. We did brief generally that there was a plan, but we never went into I didn't get briefed on the plan until February 10th, I think it was, or February 11th, but we didn't ever give them, they never asked for the plan.
And can I take you down now to page 25? And if we can just go to the top of page 25, the first thing. What meeting is this? Pre-meet SBE?
What date is that?
This is from the 5th.
Okay, so it's pre-meet SSE, assistance with Alberta, probably key things that we had to look at for the pre-meet with SSE.
Okay.
I'm not sure if it was internally or with deputy ministers. I'm not sure.
Right, and if we can just scroll down to where it starts with OPP, and it states here that OPP offered its legal expert worked Ipperwash hearing that the OPS is priority for political reasons. So is that the offer from OPP? They offered the RCMP legal counsel because of political interference concerns they had?
No, not at all. What that was is trying to muster the people together that had the expertise, that had the knowledge, that have worked on several key incidents. And in this case is the result of what came out of the Ipperwash inquiry to help them.
Right, and that's to help the RCMP.
No, it was to help the OPS, Ottawa Police Service.
Okay, so.
We were an assistance to Ottawa Police Service.
Right, and so the OPP had relayed to you that they had concerns with political interference.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure why I put the pivoting for political reasons. I'm not quite sure why I put it there.
Well, the Ipperwash proceeding was about that partly. And it's like one of the main things, and as I understand it, one of the main reasons that the political executive in Ontario wouldn't get involved in this matter, because it was against the principles set down in Ipperwash and police independence. So the OPP is offering legal experts to deal with police independence. And so why would they do that if they didn't have a concern with political interference, sir.
So I'm not fully aware of the Ipperwash. I didn't read the report. And what I can say is that what was offered there from the OPP was just assistance with their person who worked on the Ipperwash inquiry for lessons learned. That's all I can say. I can't go in for because of political reasons. All I know is they were offering up resources to assist.
Okay.
You're over your time already, so.
Sir, this is 113 pages of notes. I would like a little bit of extra time. These notes were not dealt with in the statement of the witness because they are a different set than the ones that the commission had dealt with, which is 8074. These were not uploaded or provided to the parties until Remembrance Day, and we found them last night.
Well,
And I understand the commission wasn't able, in my view, to deal with these issues only because they were using another set of notes. And these notes are a contemporaneous outline and timeline of this witness's evidence of what happened. They are extraordinarily relevant material, and I would ask leave to be able to finish the examination.
they are the same notes, I believe, as the
They're
other
not, sir.
set of notes. There's just a bit of highlighting, but it's the same text as I understand it. But in any event, there are 16 other people who want to question this panel, and it's a matter of organizing your exam. I
Sure.
must say I didn't interrupt when you were examining about the proceedings in Nova Scotia, but
Right,
that was not exactly relevant for this hearing.
right. If I could take, then if I could ask this, I'll finish up. If we could go to page 38 of this document. And so this is another meeting, if we can scroll down. And it says 1235 M3. I take it that's Marco Medicino. That's the minister. You call him M3?
Yep.
Okay. And there he's discussing about changing the posture when it comes to provincial engagement and what OPP will contribute. And then Blair goes on that it doesn't show how the chief will essentially base it on not having a plan. In his opinion, the chief of the OPS is not going to get the resources that he requires from the province. Is that fair?
Can you scroll up before that, before Minister Menachino? Okay. And the question, sorry.
So is he saying there to you that the plan from OPS, is such that the chief will not receive the resources he needs from other Ontario police services? That's what he tells you.
Correct.
All right. And if we can scroll down to the next page, please. Who is the individual right there with CMIS? It says concentrated effort to make this country look bad, start to midterms. Who is that? Who is CMIS? Or
It'd be Minister O'Regan.
Minister O'Regan. Okay, so he tells you that, I take it that the convoy and the protesters are a concentrated effort to make the country look bad?
That's what I wrote down on comments that were made, yeah.
Okay. And I'm almost finished, sir. If we could please go down to page 45, please. And scroll down. And there you highlight that the president will be calling the PM pressure to seek additional resources. Who relayed that to you?
That was in the call, the pressure to release additional resources. That's something that I put down in a sense that it was in relation to the Windsor Bridge, where there's concerns with the duration of the blockade, and I just put down seek additional resources ready to give to give the assistance required for it. So
Right. And then just to page 49, please. If we can scroll down. So this is the meeting from the 10th of February with the minister's briefing. Again, that's the Minister of Public Safety and the Minister of Emergency Preparedness. And I take it that the Minister of Public Safety states to you that the intel they're getting is not sufficient or timely, and to stop the protests and setting this up, view what is the plan and different for convoy. Can you read that last sentence there?
Different phases coming to the realization that we're not responding fast enough. And what Minister Menachino was alluding to is we had these slow rolls, more specifically in the province of Ontario, that without having the right information, they were able to set up before we even knew that they were going to do so.
And then Minister Blair canvasses you, question if exercise some jurisdictional change. Is that speaking to the policing? You're taking on a role, is that fair?
I'm not, it doesn't ring a bell.
Okay. And if we can scroll down then just to the next page. And this is the Intel overview. Is this your words here or is it somebody else's?
Can you just go up for a sec? That would be from someone else.
Okay. And is it from it says OPP on the side. Would it be fair to say that's Commissioner Morris?
That would have been a meeting, I wrote down OPP and OACP, a meeting that I believe is a meeting with that was chaired by the Commissioner of the OPP with representatives of the Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police Association.
All right. And was there anyone from the federal government at that meeting?
Other than the RCMP was present, I'm not aware of anyone else.
Okay. And the intelligence that Commissioner Morris provided you there is similar to what he's testified about before this commission, was that these were normal people and they were essentially resentment to the Trudeau government for COVID measures and multiple groups, et cetera, right?
Yeah.
Okay. And so can I take you down to, this is February 11th.
Okay, you're going to have to wrap up.
Okay.
I've been.
So I will go then right to if we can go to page the one with I believe it's the 13th. You actually had notes of the IRG meetings. 65. We go to 65, please. Well, 64 first. And there, Minister Blair discusses throwing Ottawa under the bus. That was your note?
That was my note, correct?
All right. And I take it when you're saying Ottawa, he's talking about the Ottawa Police Service. Is that fair? It's not the city of Ottawa?
Correct.
Right. So his plan on that date is he's intending to throw Ottawa under the bus, being the OPS for any failures that have been dealt with respect to policing. Is that fair?
He could have made a comment during the meeting saying that he was not satisfied with the work that's being done by Ottawa Police Service.
Okay. And then can I just take you to...
Most of these notes are not word for word what was said. Sometimes
Right.
just a quick recap of...
And if I can take you up to page 62, please. And there you wrote comment PM. I take it that that's the Prime Minister. And it says regarding RCMP, they haven't done anything.
Yeah, that was in reference to the overall blockades that were taken across, that was going on across the country. There was some, they were not displeased, but did not understand the flow, speed and flow, and what it takes when you're dealing with a demo.
Okay.
And that came across that they were not happy with how we were handling the different demos.
Right. And this will be the last note. So page 67, please. And this is from the 14th at 9 o'clock. This is the National Security Intelligence Advisor that you're meeting with, I take it?
That's correct.
Right. And that's Jody Thomas?
At the time, yes, it was Jody Thomas.
Right. And I take it there that for whatever reason you're recording what she's saying. And there on one of the points, measures put out draconian. They will turn to us. Everyone is using their authority that's been given. RCMP taking advantage of authority. What was that about?
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what I meant by that, tell you the truth. Measures putting out.
Right. And and just for you, Commissioner Lucki, in ending this, it is the fact that in the.
Excuse me, you're not giving the witness a chance to read the notes. He said he's not sure what it says and he's trying to read it and you're moving on to something else.
Right. So
if you're going to ask the witness questions, then let him have a chance to read it, please.
I can wait. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, I don't have any more comments on that. I'm reading it and I'm not quite sure what it was meant.
That's how I understood the evidence as well. So Commissioner Lucki, you were present for both the February 13th IRG as well as the February 14th cabinet meeting?
Yes, I think the cabinet meeting was on the 13th.
And well, and so the IRG meeting, they, according to the text messages and the messages that we've reviewed, they never even asked you to speak.
Definitely not at the cabinet meeting. And what I did do, I don't think I spoke at either. I thought I did because I had speaking notes, but I did brief the minister before that meeting.
Right. And the minister never asked you what your opinion was with respect to whether or not there was a Section 2 CSIS Act security threat. Is that correct?
In respect to what?
Whether or not there was a threat under Section 2 as defined in the CSIS Act, if there was a threat to the security of Canada.
No, he would have to ask CSIS.
Right. And CSIS, you're aware, told him that there wasn't.
That's what I've been told.
So
You're going to have to.